Hey, everybody, and welcome to Chat Canna. I'm sorry that this show is hitting the social media outlets so late on this Monday. I can only say that it has been just one crazy Monday for 2/22/2021. PPP has not taken us by surprise, but the local bank has sent out a lot of papers, and we were involved with them for about an hour. And that pushed us back. And then just a whole lot of things, including the beautiful temperatures that we had here today. It was just unbelievable. And I apologize for being late. I know a few of you are there waiting for the show to hit every day. And I can only apologize that, and plus some throat problems. And it will be terrible through the show. I apologize. But between some lozenges, why did they pick that word for when you're having a throat problem, and some water, I have some great stories for you today, and just some interesting buzz out on the network with a couple of things, and some exciting things that we are just getting ready for market this weekend. I did not bring the pieces over here. Tomorrow, I should have a whole bunch of things to physically show you in my hand. The thing is that my office, and no, Ace, not today. You can't come up here. We're too busy. No. The cat was out all day today, having just a wonderful time in the 40-degree weather. And of course, he's all pumped up now. Normally this time of night, he'd be curled up in his bed after having supper, but he's just excited. So, But this weekend, as I've told you, we have 377 pounds of beeswax, and we turn that into what we call bricks. That's where it gets the first infusion. There's a whole lot of ways to take the CBD oils from the plant and get them. And one of the ways our good friend Veronica in Fargo does is using super cold, super chilled ethanol, and it kind of chills those little things that have burst out from the plant, and then and breaks them off, and she collects them into that we call crude oil, CBD oil. And it's a marvelous way of doing it, but it takes a pretty expensive machine and a really good operator. And that process, and we don't have anything like that. Her minimum order to put through that is 500 pounds, and so that's one way. And of course, CO2 that turns liquid extraction, another way to do it, and that takes a certain amount of product to do a batch. And with that, you lose a certain amount of CO2. With Veronica's, you lose a certain amount of alcohol. And there's many other ways. We have what I think you've heard me talk about. It's what they do on the other side when they are making hashish. And it looks like a washing machine. You basically take ice and super cold water, and you put it in there, and you run a cycle on it. And then you put it through a big filter, and a littler filter, and a littler filter, and a littler filter. And finally, when you get down to the finest of filters that the CBD stuff can't get through, you end up with a product of really some nice stuff, actually. And you can filter out how you want it based on these super fine meshes that give you exactly what you want. And that's a good way to do it too. Our chosen method here for the products that we want is called an infusion. And there are different oils that you can use to take it off of the plant. According to my guy, everybody's got a guy, and my business partner is my guy. He's the guy that, just like, kids back in the day, like the Sheldon Coopers of the world, used to stay up all night and read books. And other kids used to stay up all night and read about trains or do that. And my partner just lives his life to stay up sometimes through the night, and is doing recipes for removing CBD, CBN, CBH, all the things that are in cannabis hemp plant, the recipes, and then trying them. But we try them on very small scales. We do liters, half liters, because we are in research and development first and foremost. And being into products is kind of a sidestep for us as we're working on other things. But this is his passion. It's his life. And, it's one of those couldn't have met the better partner kind of things for me, because the skills he have are not mine, and the skills that I have are not his. And together we make a pretty good team, I think. And probably the best skills that we have is that we can holler at each other in ways that do not offend the other person. And by holler, I don't mean holler necessarily, but I mean we can share our disappointments with each other in a way that doesn't offend the other person too much. And that's the most important thing to look for in a partner. By the way, sage old advice from the old guy in the business. That's the thing you got to find if you're looking for a business partner or partners. Everything else you can work out, but you can't work it out if you've got somebody that's hammering at you or you're hammering at that can't take the criticism of the moment, because you can't work that out later. You've got to be able to get past that in your business meetings. And sometimes that's why brothers work so well together and other brothers can't work together, or father and sons work so well together and other fathers and sons can't be in the same room if it's about business. They can do Thanksgiving or go fishing and hunting together really well, but they can't do that. Words of advice, I didn't even charge you for it. So anyway, we have settled on, for us, I don't think you could do this on a grand scale, but for what we want and for what we need to get, we are using other oils. And he tells me that butter, believe it or not, is the absolute best way to get an infusion, to take the CBD and other oils from the buds. But butter doesn't stand up long enough for us on the shelf. I would have thought then that hemp oil would be the next best, but it's not. Although having some hemp oil in our product is good, because we want the hemp seed oil as part of the full spectrum that we're offering. But believe it or not, avocado oil actually breaks the bond the best. And so that's part of our formula. It's not a secret. We have to tell you what's in our products. Don't trust anybody that says it's magic and I won't tell you, because they have to tell you, but they don't have to tell you how they do it or in what percentages they do it. And that I will take to my grave, or for $100. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Kitty wants to, I have a bar up, so he can't come over here, but he tries to walk on the bar. So we have some exciting products coming in there. Matter of fact, the minute I leave here, I will be over at the other farm where we're cooking tonight, doing some exciting things. But with that, tonight I have a couple of great stories for you. If you might remember in past broadcasts, there was a time when the NFL, National Football League, and also basketball, NBA said, first they said, no, stay away from this stuff. You can't use it. If it shows up in tests, you'll be benched. Bad things. Then they started backing off on drug tests in general, because they realize that players are out there and they're trying things to mitigate pain. You know, these guys work hard. Basketball players, a couple of games a week or more. Football players, 1 game a week, sometimes 2 if it's Monday Night Football and things. So, opioid pain relief, first of all, is bad. You cannot tell me that taking opioids at any time other than in an emergency situation is good for you. It's just not. And we've seen the damage that it's been done and made major headlines from all the different players, the different entertainers, to Rush Limbaugh. And, he fessed up to it. He came out right on the air and said, I am addicted. And he had 2,000 pills that he squandered going from doctor to doctor. Because, yes, it works great, but it is not good for you. And, he shouldn't, like him or not into politics, but, no man should die at 70 years old. And so I know some of you out there disagreeing with me about him, but that's not what our conversation is about. So now the NFL came out and they are looking for information. They want alternatives to pain management. And they have actually come to CBD companies and said, tell us, talk to us, show us what you can do. And it's interesting just because, 5 months ago, we carried the stories about, telling their players, stay away from this stuff. Stay away from anything that's got the word cannabinoid in it. So now they want reports, requests, information, and they want it, it's the 22nd, so 38 days. They want to know about this. That is big news, and they are not offering any money for this. So it's not like a pay for play or anything like that. They really want to know what CBD oil can do as a topical application and as an internal taking of something. It's going to be interesting to follow this along, see what we can do. What can CBD and the other CBs, the cannabinoids, do for the NFL? I think it's a big deal. I think that it can really, really do something. Imagine an Australian, these Aussies that are in the movies, not at all a reflection of people in Australia. Just like in an American picture, what does an American look like? From the East Coast to the West Coast, from Florida to Minnesota to Alaska, there is no way you can identify an American. Now, of course, commercials are changing as to the typical American they show in a commercial. And, they even do the same commercial, folks, re-videoed with the different idea of a man or a woman or a family in different regions to kind of pretend that, hey, here's a dad in your area, or here's a mom, or here's a typical family. And that's fine, I don't mind. But imagine in your mind a typical big brawny Australian carrying a cooler, because that's about how big the blocks that I'm going to talk to you are now. About this big by about a foot by a foot, except they've got some ribbing on the sides and the bottom, and the top, really. Well, that's a block of hempcrete. We've had guests on our show talking about hempcrete, but everybody who's doing it is mixing it up in like a concrete mixing floor bucket, 60, 70 pounds at a time, and then they're adding it to their frame. And that's really good, for the do-it-at-home guy that wants to get a few of his friends over, help me make a tiny house or an addition on my house now, a room or two, or something like that. But, that doesn't work for building a house, and particularly not a house in town where there are all these rules and laws and CC&Rs and codes and covenants and restrictions and stuff. Because the guys in town and the guys that want to insure your house and the people that sit on these boards and government, councils and things, whether right or wrong, they want to have their thumb on something and they want to pass it and have the control that said, yes, we approve of it. You might tell it over my years, and in 4 states, I've had to go to war with them sometimes. And although I've put in my time and my due diligence and I've won, it's cost me a lot of money, and I have bad feelings about it. Usually because there was always people on the boards that were logical and a bit scientific and saw it through and were logical. But there was always a couple of people on those boards that had what I called FAS. Copyright that. That's my copyrighted set of letters, FAS. False authority syndrome. And by God, they were going to let you know who was boss. And, I'm not really good at going around and, trying to please everybody when I thought that it was beyond my responsibility to. Meet the laws? You bet. Prove safety? Absolutely. Do what has to be done? For sure. And I'm sorry, there's a throat doctor coming up because there must be more than a little aggravation back there. But some guys in Australia, and I'm sure somebody's working on it here in the US, but I haven't found it yet. They are coming to America now with their blocks that are no different than concrete blocks, actually, but except they're bigger because they're lighter. And they have now been proven to work and approved by, commissions, public service utility companies and everything, to be okay because they support roofs and two-story houses and things, and they pass tests, and you can burn them with a blowtorch, and you can run a car into them, and you can build supporting and sustaining walls, and they can take a flood, and all of the different requirements that the sides of your house now can do. And the way these things kind of work is, okay, we prove them in a first world country, and we prove them in another first world country. And so now you bring it to a city like San Francisco, and San Francisco approves. And so then the rest of California approves, and then it kind of moves across the country. And so these have all met those requirements. So instead of trying to take your hemp crete and your little mixing box and your little sample to a new county in Minnesota or North Dakota and trying to show them that it's really nice and it's really good and it works, you now have the backing of large metropolitan areas and things to show them. That you can put a hole in it, run wires through it, and take them out over here, and you can do these things. And they've been tested for wind loads, and they've been tested for weight loads. I don't know that they've been through a tornado yet, but I'm sure they have statistics to prove that they are equal to this, that, and the other thing. And so here they are, they're coming, this one company, and there will be other companies that will duplicate it. And they will put a pink coloring in it, or a blue coloring in it, or a brown coloring in it to identify their brand. And so they're here right now. And I think it looks really nice because they're also insulative. R22 for the blocks that they have are R22. Now that's maybe not enough for here in Minnesota, but when we wrap it with another foam board on the inside or the outside in Tyvek, and then you're probably going to want to put your, is it half or do they do 5/8 sheetrock inside? You're going to probably get the walls you want. Up in your ceiling, you're going to probably boost it up to 40. And you've got a nice house. And it's so awesome because where you want a window, you just take your chainsaw and you cut it out to the exact window dimensions. You have your window, you have your door, you have your bay window that you want to put in, your patio door. And they go up really fast. I mean, as fast as you stack these blocks and tap them together with a hammer, and they have it's not straight through. The air can't go straight through because it's in, and then it goes around, and then it's back. And again, Tyvek and a foam board and your sheetrock, and you got a good house. I expect that it will last forever. And now let me tap on to the thing that the government's going to like. The extreme liberals that are talking about carbon sequestration. Love that word. It's the word of the day, sequestration. Your whole house is a carbon suck. For 100 years, this inside the herd of the hemp plant is going to be sucking up carbon. Is that not? For those of you that know about it, you're going to go, oh, wow. For those of you that don't know about it, I'm telling you, this is big news, and it's good news, and it has nothing but positive benefits. Those are my two stories for today. Isn't it amazing? We hit the 20-minute mark just by accident. I seem to do it day in and day out. The NFL loves us and wants to hear about CBD. We were talking to several people this week, my partner and I, at CANNA RHX, and he just says, or they, but one in particular says, in Canada, they cannot, I got to say this right, there's just no end to the limit of where they can sell the inside of the hemp stalks called herd. He said they just can't sell, they cannot grow enough right now to sell it. There's an unending demand for it at a fair to high price. Very happy guys. That's Chat Canna for today, 2/22/2021. Looking forward to talking to you again tomorrow. In the meantime, have yourself a wonderful, wonderful Monday, the rest of what's left wherever you might be in the world, and we'll see you again.